My little.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Busting Through Life Challenges with me, Di Parker. And today I'm extremely honoured to have a guest called Laura Young, MBE.
Oh, my goodness.
High performance executive coach, helping founders, CEOs flourish and feel light, leading their business or charity to greater growth. Welcome, Laura.
Thank you.
Oh, wow. MBE. This is first. First for me. Congratulations on that. I believe it was for the Teapot Trust.
That's right. Yes. I founded a charity, back in 2011 after we found the gaps in her care. She had lupus, and which is a rheumatology condition, and she hated needles. So in trying to help her, in those days we used to talk about getting her head around her new situation, getting her head around taking her medication. We were looking for a way to make it easy for her, and she was the only thing that really helped was by doing art in hospital. So that was how the idea for Teapot Trust was born, and we were going to do it anyway, but sadly as she died we then had a wholehearted time to get stuck into it. And yeah, we then started to fundraise and provide art therapists in children's hospitals across Scotland, and it's just grown and grown and grown since then. So very exciting to be on the national map, and I got my MBE for services to children's mental health, which was lovely.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah,
obviously, talking earlier, another visit to that, I think, because I think that is also such a wide topic for a podcast in the future, for sure.
Yeah.
Especially as
that was a very brief, as short as I can make
it. When I met you here. But for today, we're talking about coaching.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious as to what's attracted you into coaching. What was your journey into coaching? And how do you help others with that service that you now provide?
So I suppose my mentoring coaching started as a mum of a sick child on the wards. People would notice I had brought in casseroles, I had bags prepared and art materials, and people would say, oh, how have you done that? And what have you cooked there? And could you give me some advice on how to cope? Because you seem to have got stuff sorted. And it was like, oh my goodness, I haven't got this sorted. I'm just hanging on by a thread. But just helping people cope in those early days on the ward was sort of, I suppose, the little nuggets. And then once the Teapot Trust became successful, I got a lot of calls from people saying sometimes that somebody had died and they wanted to set up a charity, or they'd experienced cancer and wanted to set up a charity, and so they would say, we want to set up a charity that is as successful as yours, and how did you do it? Please help. And often the most the best advice I could give people was don't duplicate. If there's already something similar happening, set up a fund in memory of your loved one and increase work that's already happening. And so this then grew, because some people did set up their own charities, and then they would say, any chance you would come on board and help, or kind of have a chat with you, a couple of coffees. And I realized that this was sort of happening as a mentoring coaching role, that I'd meet these people once a month for 6 months to get them going. And then how did I get into coaching much more formally? Because at that time I was running Teapot Trust. I knew that I'd be leaving Teapot Trust when Verity would have been around 1821, but lockdown hit. So I'd stepped back from the coalface, and I was then simply on the board as chair of the board. And I was thinking, right, now what do I do with my time? And this idea of helping people to be at their best without burnout, because of all the people that I had seen were actually slightly in crisis mode. Something had happened, triggered them to want to set up a charity, either in memory of somebody or because of what they'd experienced themselves. And so a lot of the time I was helping people do stuff when they were feeling quite overwhelmed by what life was, just this wave that had come over them. So I thought, well, nobody's going to take me on as a coach, because what do I know about psychology and coaching? So I really better do a qualification. And it actually ended up being great timing, because lockdown hit and I had just registered for the ILM7, and instead of doing it by going a weekend a month, we ended up doing it all online. And yes, it was about 18 months of study into the different models to use as a coach, and psychology, and 11 essays, and it was quite tough for me going back to doing all that sort of thing, but yeah, passed it. And so now I'm coaching, helping people who are business leaders. People are doing all sorts of things and just want somebody to help them reach goals without burning out, without getting exhausted in the process. How to streamline, how to just cope with the amount of stuff we have on our plates nowadays is amazing.
Do you think the burnout's coming from people that possibly are still, obviously very much in their grieving aspect, and it's an element of keeping busy and making some sense for themselves of what's just happened?
Yeah, I think it can be that. It's also can be things like somebody's been involved in a court case that they weren't expecting to be involved with, and that's chucking a whole level of other stuff into their lives.
Mm-hmm.
And so what creates massive grief and loss can be the death of a loved one, or it can be that they're suddenly having pulled into something and have lost one part of their life and doing something completely different. But certainly people who have experienced loss, taking the time to deal with it. There was a thing on Succession that the daughter, whose name has completely gone out of my head, but she just goes and does her 10-minute cry with her dad who's died, and she's accused of scheduling time in for grieving, and then she's off to be busy again. And it's how do people cope? That's one way of doing it. Yeah. But for others, that may not be the way to do it at all. And I think it's because we have no rule book. Keeping busy is a coping strategy.
Absolutely, we're all unique, and the way we see this process is unique to us. And that's half of that's what I do. It's unpick those things. And for sure, if they're grieving alone, we don't want that to go on and on and on.
No,
you feel that you need to just be on your own to have some space to even think about what's happened and how to process that yourself. Then go and schedule that time for yourself. Not a problem. It's just not staying there.
Yes. And one of the things I feel that comes up in my coaching time again is that for a healthy business, you need a healthy body and you need a healthy mind. Because to be a good leader of your team, or to be a good leader of your one-man band, you have to be healthy in heart and mind. And so some of my coaching is about looking after yourself in order to perform at this level. And why is it we're bubbling along the bottom and getting distracted and not actually focusing properly?
That's so true. It's so true. And it's something actually that often is reflected back to me, is like, what time do you take for yourself? But I get energized by my work. I get energized by what I do, but I still pick up, actually making pockets of time in your diary for yourself is so important. So that's really great. So you've done your qualification and you've got this passion behind you to help people. And so how does that look now? If a client wants to work with you, how do you do that? How does it?
So I do really feel that coaching is very individual and is about how you click with the person that you're going to work with. And so sometimes I'm one of 3 people that somebody might contact to see who they feel they've got some chemistry with, who they feel they just like. So I will always offer people an hour's free to let's have a discovery call. Let me find out what your challenges are. What is it you would like me to help you with? And I often find out what is going on now and how long it has been going on, and really drill down, because sometimes the problem that people come with when you get to the bottom of it isn't really what the issue is.
Yeah.
And then we look at, well, what do you want instead?
Yeah.
How will you feel when you've got this new situation? And then we look at how are we going to get from here to there. And that makes it sound terribly simplistic.
Be surprised.
But in essence, that is it.
Yeah.
You know you're in a rut.
Yeah.
You know you're being overwhelmed. You want to be feeling free, feeling lighter, with less on your plate, with more time for yourself, and to be more successful, to have greater impact doing less is sort of what I'm at.
Yeah.
Getting
people out of their heads and into their hearts and bodies.
Yeah.
I love it.
And some people want to work with me once a week because they go, right, I'm just going to power at this for 6 weeks and we're going to do it every week. Other people might say the opposite extreme. No, it's once a month, because the things that I've got to tease out are going to take me a bit of time, and I need time to action these things. And then you get people in between who say every second week. So it just very much depends on you and what you're doing. So it's all led by the client. That's the important thing. And occasionally I do a bit of drawing with my clients. That's because of the art therapy that we brought in with Teapot Trust. Sometimes when people are very stuck and sometimes it's very easy to go, I don't want this, but I don't know what I want. I know I can't really see how it's going to look. We might just muck about with some felt tips. And it's not about being good at drawing at all. We do dots and dashes, and triangles and stars, just to help get over where you might want to be instead. So that, yeah.
Have you ever come across like vision boards and things like that? Because that's
yes,
to do with clients, rather than put the pressure on maybe about. But I think that's a really good thing, because when it's a bit like writing, isn't it?
Yes.
And Harry Potter's wand, you're getting it out of you and onto the paper. And that's that's really great. So how do you want to see yourself going forward with the work that you're doing now?
I just really want to help lots of people like you. I get energized by seeing people have those sort of breakthrough moments, or they come back saying, actually, what we were talking about really resonated. I was on a walk and thought of blah, and so now I realize I want to do that. And it's lovely seeing the change, because most people arrive with a bit of I'm feeling everything's a bit too much, and at the end of your program everybody's like, okay, may not be totally there, but I'm rocking it and I know where I want to be. And it's about that journey. And I've had 2 people who have wanted to come back in a couple of years. They've gone, okay, will you help me over this hump? And I can see I've got another step and I just need somebody to hold my hand. I would like a friend to be there to just help me. And the good thing is you're a good sounding board, and you're a critical friend. You'll tell me when, no, don't do that. Or you'll help me up over that ledge, and then it'll be another plain sailing for a while. So that's been lovely.
Yes, that is lovely. Absolutely lovely. So I want to thank you very much for coming and doing this for us today. And how can people find, before we get to that, actually, there's a little question I like to ask my guests.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So have you met anyone who really inspires you in the last year or two?
In the last year or two, actually, it's just going to sound a bit funny, but the people who do inspire me have inspired me hugely are the garden designers who are designing Teapot Trust's Chelsea garden. They are both second career women who went and did their gardening qualifications. They set up business together possibly as long as 10 years ago now. Maybe only 7 or 8, I'm not quite sure. And they have gone from being small to now they're rocking it, designing a garden for Chelsea. And I just think, I really hold them in great esteem. They were mums on the school run who had reached their 40s and thought, now what? And they're absolutely doing what they love to an incredibly high professional level. And so in the last year, it's definitely them. They really, I just think they're really rocking it.
That's brilliant. That's lovely. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So how do people reach you, Laura, if they would like to work with you?
So you can, as with most modern ways, there's lots of ways you can reach me. The simplest and most direct is to email me at l.young@youngwisdom.co.uk. But I also have an Instagram account, which is _young.wisdom_, and you can message me on that through LinkedIn. I'm Laura N. Young. I think my MB's on there. I can't quite remember. That's terrible. I bet it is. Yeah. I better let you know. There are a lot of the awful thing is there are a lot of Laura Youngs, would you believe? And even at my local hairdressers, I have to make sure I use my middle initial in the first name box. Otherwise, it's like, which mobile phone number is it? It's ridiculous. Living in Edinburgh, I suppose Young is it's like Jones in Scotland. It's a common name. So
yes, I've got a few of them living around by me here in the
yes,
island as well.
Yeah.
So that's really good. And I'll put your information at the end of this podcast and in the links below.
Thank you.
But again, thank you so much for taking the time out of your very busy day to come and have this conversation with us about coaching. And yet, like I said, I would love to talk to you again about the Teapot Trust and everything that you've done there.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Di, it's lovely speaking to you. I think, well, the service that you're putting together sounds really inspiring, and I think it will help a lot of people. So, good job to you. It's going to be brilliant.
Thank you very much. Goodbye now.
Bye.